In this lesson I want to quickly show you how to create a proxy camera for your level. This proxy camera will help you to navigate around your level, and quickly you'll be able to pick up on areas that you need to continue to iterate on. So in the top-down view I have selected on Snap Toggle 3, and if I right click on that it brings up a window with different options. I'm choosing Vertex, and in the Create panel under Shapes I'm going to select Line. Now what this will do is I'll be able to click on this terrain, and I'm just going to follow the terrain up and down certain areas where I will be able to navigate frequently with my game characters, and I just want to thoroughly investigate these areas so that I can continue to iterate on those areas as I develop my level. Now I'm going to be able to also climb up into these plateau areas. There's some ridges along this area that I'll want to be able to frequent with my game character. Down again into the valley areas, and then I come upon my original spline knot. I'll click on it, it'll prompt me to close the spline, and I say yes, and in doing that I complete my spline. So over here in the Modify panel, click on the sub objects. I will be able to then raise my spline 6 feet off the ground, which is the height of a typical game character, game camera. Oops, my snap is still on, so I want to turn that off by toggling it off. And then I will raise up, keeping my eye on the Z axis. I want to raise that up approximately 6 feet. We're starting at 6, 8, 9, so here we go. We're going to reach that distance in no time. Here's about 7 feet. That should do it. Alright, so now we have our spline created for our camera. You can see that it's very angular, so we're going to change that before we go on. We're going to select all of the knots, right click, and choose Bezier. And that, as you can see, brings up the Bezier handles, and from then we are able to go in and select on those different knots. When I'm working with the Bezier handles, I always work in 2 dimensions at one time. You can grab the handles, rotate those, and be able to create a little bit less angular line for my camera. Now here where I have areas that penetrate into the surface of the terrain, I can then again continue to rotate those so that they do not penetrate. And what have we got to local space? Alright. This one is such a radical topographical change that I may just want to consider bringing that up a little bit more and doing more of a fly-through in this area, since it's the side of the hill as well. I think that might be our best option. Let's just pull that out. Go. Yeah, that's caused us to penetrate the back side. We'll just continue to work on this. Spline, it'll take us all over this particular portion of the terrain, which is our within our reset zone. So continue to work with that spline, and in the meantime I will show you how to create the camera to go on that. I'm going to T, top down, over to the side. I'm going to create a camera by going into the create panel and count 1, 2, 3, 4 over. You'll see the camera section. I'm going to create a target by clicking and dragging out and then releasing. And I can click right to get out of that creation mode. I'll go to the modify panel and I see my target camera in there. I'm going to select on the camera itself now and apply the constraint to constrain it to the spline path. So animation, constraints, path constraint, and it gives me a selection with a string attached, and I'm just going to click on that spline. And you can see that it placed the camera on the spline. I'm going to do the same thing with the target. Select it, animation, constraints, path constraint, and then again click on the spline. Alright, so as you can see, as I was able to apply the constraint, it automatically created 2 keys for me on the panel here, the animation window. You can see them in red. There's a key, an animation key set at frame 0 and at frame 1000. So if that's not where I want my camera to start, I go all the way back to frame 0 and select on the camera, position that in the location where I want it to start. I'll just drag it up here a little ways. And I do the same thing with the camera target. If I want that to start animating a little bit further ahead of the camera, I can drag that out and it will continue to animate along that path. And we get all the way down to frame 1000 and it will continue to loop. So by clicking on the C on our keyboard, it will bring up the number of cameras that we have created. I believe this is camera 002. Select on that, and now we're actually seeing from the eye of that camera. So go back to frame 0. Looks like we're right next to or inside of this terrain. We click on the play animation and it will take us on that very fast and rocky journey through our level. Now, if you don't want to go so fast through your level, you need to add keyframes, or add frames to your animation, and I can show you how to do that very quickly by clicking on the time configuration right up here where it says end time. Select on, I'm going to set 3000. So it's a nice slow tour through that level, and now what I'll need to do is grab this keyframe and move it all the way to the end. 3000. And you will also need to do that with the camera. Move that all the way out to 3000. Alright, now you'll have a much slower ride through your level. You can also turn off the visibility of your spline if you don't want to see that as you're traveling through the level by coming up here to the display panel and clicking on shapes, and that will shut off the visibility, hide the visibility of that spline and all other shapes in your scene from being viewed by the camera. can also brush off your edged faces, which will give you a little bit better idea of what you're going to be seeing with the game camera. Now, as I can see already, there are a number of areas where I'll want to go in and smooth the terrain, where it's just a little too low resolution. It's not carrying off a very good silhouette in some areas. So I'll go in there and smooth those areas out. In some areas I might want to leave a little bit more rocky. And but this gives you some options of not only establishing where your players will be, so that you can know better where to place your eco and your architectural LODs, but also to get a good glimpse of what your game camera is going to be seeing as you navigate around your world. In the next segment, we will talk about placing LODs.